are all weirdos.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Manga and Anime Podcast. This is the Jujutsu Kaisen Manga Reading Club. I'm here with my man, Luke Hollywood. What up, Luke?
What up, Jim?
What up? And we end up continuing on, obviously, with Jujutsu Kaisen, as you have Itadori going for what we hope would be school shenanigans. We talked about that before. They're at the Tokyo Prefectural Jiu-Jitsu Specialty High School.
Ooh.
It rolls off the tongue, that one does, and you end up having Gojo taking Itadori, and we already have basically the mission statement, but
eat all them fingers.
Eat the fingers so that the cursed Sukuna will kind of come back to life, and then we'll kill them inside your bellies.
Easy
is
peasy.
what ends up being. But when we get to the high school here, we realize, oh my God, first off, Gojo is not in charge, but also you still have to pass a test.
Test not passed yet.
Everyone we're doing has the test that has to be passed, most of which involve getting the crap kicked out of you.
Beat down.
Yeah, just beat down classroom shenanigans here. Now, with that, you give us what this is.
Yes, indeed. This is the Jujutsu Kaisen's Chapter 3. For myself, we open with Yuji Itadori at the graveyards. Very sad for what is a very goofy chapter.
Yeah, it is. And it has been a little more goofy than I expected at the beginning. You have that kind of combo of dark or sad with the funniness, but when you get there, I don't know, Itadori, he comes off a little dense here, where they end up at the high school, and he's just, this is really in Tokyo? Well, how'd you get there? What, they blindfold you? Gojo, he has a blindfold on. He seems to. But yeah, this is actually normal, suburbs. I guess it's supposed to show you Itadori hasn't traveled much.
No.
Like outside his neighborhood, maybe. But
it is a pretty fancy looking school, though.
It is.
We do learn they use it as a religious. That's the cover. It's like a religious school, but everybody uses it for Jiu-Jitsu shenanigans.
Yeah, and you see that the Jiu-Jitsu sorcerers end up coming back here at
Still
points, resting, education. It's very busy place. The weird play is when you start this, not very busy. Not many people are there right now.
Not a lot of students.
So it is just pretty much, Gojo, Itadori, and Fushiguro, who is still sleeping it off. He's had some problems there. He is asleep trying to rest and recover. In the meantime, you do have Gojo say, you're going to have to talk to the principal. And this takes Itadori like, what? I thought you were in charge. You're the most powerful. That's when we see Sukuna, the cursed guy, he ends up coming out. And this is horrific. I mean, it's horrific looking, where he has the mouth, a demon mouth in his cheek. And it's like, what? This is nonsense. The most powerful should be ruling the school. Why isn't this? And oh, shut up. Come on. Don't do that. And he ends up slapping his cheek to get that. But then the mouth comes through the hand, which makes me laugh.
Talk to the hand. Oh, no.
Starts kind of throwing some crap around. Starts talking some crap. But with that, he apologizes. Itadori apologizes to Gojo. Like, oh, my God, I'm sorry for this. This is weird. Gojo's like, you got an interesting body. This is kind of cool. Like, this is neat. And you end up having a little background of Sukuna. How he ended up being a human at one point, then ends up being the classic two-faced four-armed demon.
He's a little handsy.
He is a little handsy and a little heady. I don't know if that makes sense, but he ends up where you end up having him become cursed objects through the 1,000 years that he's been around.
Whoa.
That a lot of the Jujutsu sorcerers has used, attacking him to sharpen their skills, trying to take him down, but they weren't able to do that.
King of the curses.
Yeah, way too powerful. He's the king of the curses. Now, in the meantime, again, Gojo said you're going to have to talk to the principal. I didn't think we were going to have to pass any tests now. I mean, in my mind, the test was, hey, will you eat all these fingers and do this?
And not turn into crazy Sukuna.
And not turn into that. Also, at the end, realize we're going to execute you. This is just a stay of execution anyway. That's kind of enough in my mind to say if this kid agrees to that, maybe that's enough. No, you end up where you meet Principal Yaga. He's a little sus, I would say, in all around deal. He is busy making the dolls. And he
Making
has
dolls.
a bunch of dolls around them, some of them cute, some of them not so cute.
Goofy looking dolls.
Yeah, so he ends up, and there's a little bit with him and Gojo. He's like, you're late again. I told you not to do that, but you're only 8 minutes late. And Gojo says, I'm only 8 minutes late, so lay off. And here is this guy. Here's Itadori. And you end up having Principal Yaga say, okay, well, who are you? This is the guy. And he introduces himself. Hey, I'm Yuji Itadori. I like girls like Jennifer Lawrence. That's his whole... why are you introducing yourself?
Good to know.
Right? It's very odd that he's just... that comes out. Is he not? And he doesn't even, in that, think, why did I say that? Like, I thought it was like a nervous thing. Nope, this is what he does. I love girls like Jennifer Lawrence.
He's goofy.
And he's like, okay, well, I mean, this is a co-ed school. I don't know Jennifer Lawrence is going to come here, but good luck with that. But he ends up saying, okay, it's time for a test, an interview. You know, why are you here? This is where the test starts, Luke. And luckily, it's not slap school. It's demonic doll school.
Punch school.
Right? Yeah, it's punch school because he ends up, why are you here? Oh, why am I here? For an interview. I was told to come. No. Why are you here at the Jujutsu High? What are you? Oh, I want to learn jujitsu. You know, well, beyond that, he is answering the very same. Like, why are you here? We need to know more than this. Is what the principal wants to know. So Yaga says, more than that, beyond that, what about after you learn jujitsu, about curses and the way of exorcism? Why do you want to do this? What are you going to do? And he is just kind of repeating the mission statement. Well, I'm going to go eat a lot of fingers from Sukuna. It's real dangerous. You know, they're out and about, but I'm going to eat them and then, you know, you'll end up killing me. And he says, I kind of want to do it because it's dangerous. People may die.
Want to help the peoples.
And then you end up having Principal
Yaga.
Yeah, Yaga says, well, there's a lot of people that die. Curses aren't the only things. There's accidents, incidents, sickness. Well, why don't you care about that? Like, do you care about somebody that ends up getting cancer? Is that any concern? Because you seem like all of a sudden you're concerned about these. Why? Well, you know, I ended up where somebody asked me to do this before they ended up leaving. And he's like, what? A request? So you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing this because of someone else. Now, we know he is. I mean, that's the full truth. He is doing it because his grandfather had said that. Now, you can say that's not all the reason, but that is kind of the with great power comes great responsibility talk he got earlier, where he thinks that he wants to do proud of his grandfather. This is what his grandfather said. So with that, all of a sudden, you end up having Principal Yaga say, disqualified.
Not good enough.
For Mortal Kombat. And he ends up turning pretty much the most sus doll that he was making. What looks like a bulldog, but has arms and legs even, and with a crown. And he turns it to life and ends up sicking it. Go and attack Itadori. We find out that its name is Kathy. Oh. So Kathy, the bulldog doll, ends up going and beating the crap out of Itadori.
Right hook.
Yeah, really. And so with that, Principal Yaga says he's doing it because when you have your back to the wall and you're fighting, you tend to be a little more honest. I'm like, no. What happens is I start getting upset and running and, you know, crying at me. I'll be in the corner, but not Itadori. He's trying to fight back, realizes that he really can't, that this doll doesn't feel any pain or whatnot, but he's avoiding it while still trying to answer the question. You end up, Yaga says, you know, doing something for somebody else, that's nonsense. I don't need that. And then Itadori says, but it's my grandpa. It was my grandpa who said that. That's why it means something. He keeps getting the crap kicked out of him. And Yaga says, well, your grandpa is still someone, right? So this isn't working. You can't do this. He keeps trying to pull that out, trying to say, no, that's why I'm doing it. But what you end up having Principal Yaga say then is, you're going to have to do a lot of really bad stuff.
Not a nice job.
Yeah, you're going to rip the flesh and off a curse. You're going to do this and
eat the fingers.
Yeah, eat the fingers. That's not bad enough too. But the big thing that I think hits Itadori is he says, listen, what you're doing, and from here on out, you could end up cursing your grandfather because of what you did. I don't know how that works, but he says you could end up being the fault that your grandfather gets cursed as well. So what are you going to do? Tell me why you do this. You know, you have to keep, he's still getting the crap kicked out of him by this doll. And you end up again, Yaga says that most of the, you know, jujutsu sorcerers, they end up where they die, they regret all this stuff, and you're probably going to die. And also, he's going to be executed anyway. At one point, what is this? The Superman punch that you end up, this Kathy doll ends up like jumps up in the air and is about to really get him
from behind.
Why are you doing this? He keeps asking the same question, and finally he kind of gets it and says, I can't run away from this. And I ended up where, you know, if I go off and not do this stuff, I'm going to end up regretting it. I'm going to regret that people are going to die. And he says,
he's the only one that can do it.
Yeah, and he says, I've been good at sports and things like that, but this is the first time I've had something where it seems like I'm the only one who can do it. So how could I walk away? I would then regret things that I want to live a life that I don't regret anything. When I die, I'm not going to regret any of the way I live.
No regrets.
You passed the test. I like at the beginning when you end up having Principal Yaga start with it, you ended up having Gojo's like, oh, here we go again. He's so used to this nonsense. But yeah, you end up where he says, I'm going to do this so that I don't have any regrets, and I'm going to do it because I'm the only one who can. It didn't seem like that much difference in my mind, but This is what Yaga wanted to do. So he hears it, says, you pass. Welcome to Jujutsu Specialty High. As you see then, Itadori's so happy. He's beaming, smile. Oh no, Kathy comes and punches him right in the face again. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't turn that doll off. And he ends up doing that, but says to Gojo, show him to his room. And he gets to go, big room, he's all excited. Hey, I have this. What's going on? Puts up his sus poster there. He's making it. I'm telling you, if this is college, it's only high school, but it was college. He'd then get out the cinder blocks to make a little, you know, a little shelf for his stereo. Oh, yeah. Stuff like that, all the cool stuff, right? But while that's going on, you then have what is the funniest part of this, where Gojo says, hey, by the way, you don't have to really hunt down these fingers.
Take it easy.
Me and Fushiguro, we'll get them. We'll bring them back. You eat them. You know, you just hang loose. And so he's like, I don't know about that, but it does feel like it'd be funny to do that while I read manga and make Fushiguro get the crap kicked out of him and then have to come back. And he's like, but I don't think I can do that. Don't make me do that. Another test. Gojo says that was a test.
You passed this one,
and he says,
too.
We can't do it without you. You have to come. I just wanted to see what you'd say. He's like, was that a test? Oh, my God.
Everything's a test.
It is. And so with all of that, he ends up where they're talking about, you know, this whole thing that they have to do, and that the idea that the fingers he's already eaten, they actually will be able to sense where the other ones
he's
are.
A radar.
And the funny thing is he plays out Itadori, he says, well, why would Sukuna agree to this? Now, with that, you kind of get it right away, because when Sukuna was talking crap earlier through the hand and the cheek, he did say to Gojo, listen, I'm going to end up killing you. To Gojo, like, that's going to be fun. You are the best, so I'm going to get him. So with that, you can get the idea that Sukuna will agree to this, because Sukuna doesn't think that they're going to be able to stop him once they end up getting all the pieces. He just wants to be full, probably thinks, then I'll just run rampant. I'll kill all these jerks.
You remember when he first came back, he was so happy to see all the women's and the real world. You know, this is going to be paradise.
Yeah, and I'm sure that through this, too, he's thinking, well, I kind of, this is weird that Itadori is able to suppress the whole deal, but the more figures I get, I'll be able to do more. Like, he has to, because he end up Itadori says, why would he agree to this? And Gojo says, we win-win. I think he'll agree. And yeah, that's where I get that. But in the meantime, you do end up out of nowhere. Fushiguro comes out in the hall. Hey, dudes, what's up? And they have this whole school. This whole dorm area.
Big place.
They live like right next to each other. He has set up their deals. Gojo has set them up right next to each other, saying that he likes the drama. He likes it's so weird. And then shenanigans. Fushiguro's like, well, we kind of go on missions already in class. I don't need this. But he's like, nope, this is what we're going to do.
It's going to be lively.
The Gojo seems so goofy by the end of this. Like, he's setting up drama. But then he says, hey, by the way, we have to go get the last first-year student. And remember, they said there's only going to be 3. And so you end up where we have to go get her. and they are going to go, and we end up seeing her at the end, Nobara Kugasaki, who ends up waiting for them where she's at the train station, worried that if she doesn't get going, she might end up being scouted by a talent agency and become the next idol. Like, she is so into her stuff right here. I'm like, you ain't no Rose. What are you talking about? You're not even a Jisoo. Jisoo, I like Jisoo, though.
Shit.
I like all of them. But, yeah, she's like, I better get moving or they're going to recruit me and whatnot. So, I don't know, though. The funny thing is the whole idea of I like girls like Jennifer Lawrence supposed to give us the idea that Itadori's not going to be into her like she might think everybody would be? Because it don't look like Jennifer Lawrence. So I don't know. It was weird that whole introduction, but they have to go and grab her, pick her up, and bring her back. And then let's hope we get some more school shenanigans that don't involve Professor Yaga and his cursed dolls. I want some other school shenanigans, but with all that, that's the end of it. I thought it was pretty good. It was kind of funny. You're still setting up, not rules, but you're learning more about the characters.
Kind of a roundabout way to pass the test, but we'll take it.
I didn't know we were going to have a test, but it ends up giving you at least like Principal Yaga. Okay, he makes dolls that he can curse. And ends up where they come to life. Okay, we got that. You get a little bit of a goofier Gojo. He ends up being able to open up a bit here where he's kind of, I don't know, he seems to be messing with Fushiguro all along, right? With that. And then
I do like him setting up school shenanigans. That's good.
And Fushiguro, he ends up not really doing much in this.
He's the only straight man in this whole world. Everybody in this Jujutsu High is goofy. He is just the straight man who has to deal with all the nuts.
Yeah, so I liked it, and we're going to get the girl, Kugasaki next chapter, so that'll be pretty cool. We'll see how Itadori reacts to her. I'm guessing that Fushiguro is going to be smitten. That's my guess, but we'll see. What would you give it?
I'm going to go with 7.5. Solid.
I'm going to go 7.5 as well. It's still good. It is solid. It's
compared to the other two that we've had so far, it's a bit of a down chapter, but it's still just playing the setup. It's
down,
game.
But not down. It's just that's the problem. I think that the pacing of the first two chapters were enough that I thought we were going to get to more than just a test, because I thought the test was already just eating the fingers and not dying. Now we get this other test. Think of
like the stakes that the last two chapters had, with like, I would have to kill Yuji Itadori, the curse known as Yuji Itadori. They compared to this, where it's the new girl going to get scouted. Like, it's not really that much of an exciting cliffhanger.
You're like, all right, let's see how that goes. So, yeah, I agree with you, but I hope everybody continues to read along and enjoy it. Now, this is where I try to explain something here, because this is chapter 3. Starting with chapter 4, you can't read them free online, but this is one of the series that you could go, and I suggest you do, you download the Manga Plus app and you can continue reading them for free. You only can read the chapters once though, and then they become locked. So if you do want to continue reading Jujutsu Kaisen for free, you can go and get the Manga Plus app and do it there. It seems complicated, but it'll make sense. Or I would suggest, because of all the other reading clubs, whatever you're listening to, I would suggest that you might want to look into getting the Shonen Jump app.
Based in comics.
It's $2 a month.
Well spent.
It's well worth it. I always say it to Luke, every time that $1.99 comes out, for that I giggle as if I'm like George Clooney in Ocean's 11. I think that I have just made the greatest heist ever, because the amount of just joy that I get from it. But yeah, and then with that, you don't just get, Jujutsu Kaisen or even just the ones we're doing. You get including the weekly books that come out that you might want to jump into as well if you haven't. So yeah, and all classics, all that stuff. So I suggest going and doing that. But with all that, please go over to the Twitters at Weird Manga. Follow us. We'll follow you back 100%. Follow back policy. Go to the Instagrams, or the grams, as the kids say, at Weird Science Manga, and then go and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Science Manga, where you can get early access to the Manga Monday show, but also all of the reading clubs, a couple chapters in advance. Go, and I mentioned it at the end of the Demon Slayer deal. We're starting to come up with maybe some ideas of what we can do on the Patreon, some unique stuff or some, special ways to get people. And one of them would be to kind of have a reading club with Spy Family, but we're going to see how that goes. So
Bangers.
That's something that we will let everybody know if we do end up doing that. But with that, thank you, Luke. Thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you next week.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science.
It's the revolution.
Weird science.
It's the revolution.
Weird science.
It's the revolution.